The world was still recovering from the war, yet motorsport fans in those years quickly brought back popular racing series such as Grand Prix and NASCAR. At the same time, very important cars for the motorsport were created, like the Chevrolet Corvette, Ford Thunderbird, Triumph TR, Jaguar D-Type, Ferrari Dino and many more. These are the official starting years for many racing series, such as the 24 Hours of Daytona, Formula 5000 or the first Canadian Grand Prix. In the 1960s many interesting cars were presented, like the Ford Mustang, the legendary Ford GT40 or the Porsche 911. Le Mans 1966 was one of the most important years for the series. This year Ferrari's winning streak was broken by Ford GT40, which was designed in cooperation with Ford and Shelby American. It was one of the best racing cars ever made.
Bodyguard trouble.
These were some of the worst years for the automotive industry. The oil crisis, initiated by a big increase of oil prices on world markets resulting from the sanctions of the OPEC countries applied against the USA after the outbreak of the Israeli-Arab War. But even that did not stop people from racing. Many sport cars were introduced back then, like the Ford Capri, Chevy Corvette C3, Lotus Esprit, or the Lamborghini Countach. In Europe, WRC was born, and the BMW 3 Series was created. One of the most important years for the automotive industry and motorsport, especially in Europe. DTM had begun in Germany. Cars like Opel, BMW, Mercedes-Benz, Alfa Romeo or even Audi set out their cars to this racing series. Group B, the best years for rally racing. In order to participate, the car maker had to produce at least 400 road legal versions of the car that would race in Group B. The very first car to be made under the Group B homologations was the Lancia 037 Rally. This car was not equipped with all-wheel drive, although it was very light and powerful. Its main opponent was the Audi Quattro. Back then it wasn't complying with the Group B homologations, but just 1 year later Audi made the Sport Quattro. This car has become the legend of Group B. A new model has been set out to the races, the Peugeot 205 Turbo 16. It was equipped with all-wheel drive, an engine with 450 horsepower. It was mid-engined, which allowed Peugeot to have an advantage in the corners. In the next season Peugeot launched its upgraded 205, the 205 Turbo 16 Evolution 2. Audi presented the modernized Audi Sport Quattro S1. Meanwhile Lancia began preparing to replace the old 037 by the Delta S4. Ford also decided to show off one of their models, the Ford RS200. Group B cars were getting lighter and their engines more powerful. Everything was going well until a tragedy occurred. To the second stage of the Costa Rican rally, Henri Toivone set off from the leader's position. On the 18th special stage, his car fell out of the road on a tight left turn. The speeding car hit a tree and it immediately set itself on fire. Unfortunately, Henri Toivone and Sergio Cristo died on the scene. Because of this crash, Group B was banned. The ban saw daylight in 1987. Group B was replaced by
Driving models of climbing with extreme skill. Is the laughing pair equal?
FPA Group is a set of motorsport regulations governed by the FIA, covering the production of touring cars intended for competition. Unlike the Group B, the cars of Group A were limited in terms of power, weight, allowed technology and costs. The first time Group A appeared was in 1982 in order to replace Group 2. In order to qualify, needed were 2,500 identical models of the car that would participate. They had to be made in 1 year. Cars that started in the Group A races were cars such as the BMW 635 CSI, Jaguar XJS, Ford Sierra, Ford Mustang, Volvo 240T, Nissan Skyline and many more. The Group A Rally, these were modified road cars often based on small turbocharged cars such as the Lancia Delta Integral, Ford Escort RS Cosworth or the famous Subaru Impreza WRX and Mitsubishi Lancer Evolution. But the golden era of Group only began in the 1990s. The 1990s have changed the automotive industry forever. Those were one of the best and also one of the worst years for vehicles. Chrysler had made the very first Dodge Viper. The American Le Mans was created. The most important cars produced in the 1990s are the Honda NSX, Bugatti F110, McLaren F1, the very first Honda Civic Type R, Nissan GT-R R32, Mercedes CLK GT-R, and the Mazda 787B. In 1990 Mazda created the 787B. It was powered by a rotary engine. It was not equipped in pistons, but in the so-called rotors there was not a lot moving parts, making this car surprisingly reliable and easy to repair. This car began racing in the Fuji 1000 kilometers. After winning the race, Mazda sent out their 787B to Europe for the 24 Hours of Le Mans. Mazda presented their 787B with the number 55. The only issue it had was a broken headlight. In the 22nd hour of the race, car number 55 took the lead, which resulted in Mazda's victory. It was the first and only victory of an Asian car manufacturer in Le Mans history so far. The next year rotary engines were banned in the Le Mans races. Mercedes CLK GT-R, the legendary car used in GT1 races. It was created by AMG. Its main purpose was to beat the McLaren F1 GT-R. The one created in 1997 was made to race in, at the time, GT Series races, at first losing the battle to McLaren. In the second part of the seasons, the Mercedes took the lead and won both in the team and a single vehicle category. In 1998 Mercedes CLK GT-R had officially started in the two first series of the race before turning its attention to the 24 Hours of Le Mans. The modernized model was prepared for several times longer competition and was marked as Mercedes CLK LM. Unfortunately, the new engines did not prove their worth and both CLK LMs were eliminated from the race in its first hours. However, replacing the CLK GT-R by the CLK LM in the GT1 racing series resulted in a crushing victory for Mercedes in 1998. In 1999, due to the lack of competitors for the CLK LM, the GT1 category was abolished. Mercedes, however, wanting to win at Le Mans, decided to replace the CLK LM with the CLR, which became famous thanks to spectacular accidents and above all flying off of the track in 1999.